Hello, everyone. I'm Ben Crowther, Director of the Congress for the New Urbanism's Highways to Boulevards Initiative. The Congress for the New Urbanism is a nonprofit organization dedicated to championing walkable places. And since 2008, our Highways to Boulevards initiative has gathered data and information on the benefits and best practices of highway removal and mitigation. I'm here today to offer a cautionary tale that looks at the history of highway building in the United States and efforts to repair the damage it has caused. We'll also examine how cities across the globe are seeking to restore the waterfront connections that they lost to highway construction. To set the stage, I want to start with the brief history of American highway building, its costs, and the lessons we have learned from it. American highway building started in earnest with the 1956 Federal Aid Highway Act, which funded interstate highway construction across all 50 states. It's the largest public works project in the history of humankind, today covering nearly 47,000 miles. The concept of highways in cities grew out of the 1930s city radiant movement, which had begun to reimagine what cities should look like. This movement eschewed traditional city forms on the human scale in favor of wide open spaces, tall towers, functional separation of neighborhoods, and large motorways, able to move cars at high speed. At the 1939 World's Fair in New York, Norman Belgette's Futurama exhibit brought this vision to life in model form, allowing visitors to view it from above. When funding became available to build highways at scale in 1956, it radically transformed American cities. Here's 6 American cities, all before the highway era. They're filled with homes, businesses, places to gather, places to worship, parks, public spaces, all the things that make cities great. But to build a highway in a city, some of that will have to be destroyed. And here's what each of those places looks like now. Formerly dense and vibrant neighborhoods have been paved over in the name of progress. And let's just take a minute to appreciate what that transformation looks like from before the highway era to the highway era. This image gives you a sense of what has to be destroyed in a city to build a highway. On the right is a highway interchange in Atlanta, Georgia, and on the left, the historic urban core of Florence, Italy. They're pictured here at the same scale. So that means you'd have to bulldoze the majority of downtown Florence to build that interchange in Atlanta. And in American cities, that's just what happened. But this isn't only about buildings and streetscapes that are lost. There's a serious human cost to highway building as well. Over 1 million people have been displaced from their homes by American interstate construction, sometimes forcibly and often with little to no compensation. This is Aurora Vargas, dragged by police from her home in Los Angeles' Chavez Ravine in 1959 to make way for a baseball stadium and the highways that would serve it. When selecting routes, highway builders typically look for the path of least resistance, both financially and politically speaking. In American cities, that often entail building highways through low-income communities and communities of color who lack political champions willing to stand up for them. This mural by Judy Baca makes tangible the destruction faced by the Latino residents of Los Angeles' Chavez Ravine during that heyday of highway building. Highways replace homes, quite literally here, and separate families. Waterfront routes also present a path of least resistance. Generally speaking, since waterfronts have been put historically to industrial uses, routing highways along them was considered less contentious than through residential neighborhoods. That's not to say that people don't also live along these waterfronts, just that they typically tend to be lower income communities, so highway builders can justify the routes publicly through a lower cost of land acquisition. Nearly 70 years into the highway building era, we've learned that these roads often come with great social, economic, and environmental costs. Highways burden those who live around them with the hazards of vehicle exhaust, severe disinvestment, a loss of local businesses, services, and amenities, and streets that are dangerous to pedestrians. These roads have become liabilities and recognized by cities and their residents as a mistake. And that's exactly why several cities have begun removing them in order to restore their waterfront connections. This is Portland, Oregon's Harbor Drive, a 6-lane road running alongside the Willamette River, originally designed as a truck route for Portland's industry. And this is that same riverfront today. In 1974, the city of Portland reclaimed its waterfront by removing the highway and building in its place the 37-acre McCall Waterfront Park, one of the city's signature green spaces. In 1991, San Francisco followed Portland's lead. The 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake severely damaged the city's double-decker Embarcadero Freeway located along the San Francisco Bay. Rather than rebuilding the highway, whose construction was highly contested when it was originally built, the city decided to remove it altogether. Today, the Embarcadero, the street you see on the screen, links the city back to its waterfront. The new Embarcadero features a rehabilitated ferry terminal building, transit lines along the street, and a robust public realm able to support activities and gatherings, like this open air market you see here. Even smaller American cities have understood the benefit of waterfront connections. In 2004, Chattanooga, Tennessee did away with its Riverfront Parkway. Now the city has a vibrant waterfront, which adds value back to it and offers its residents a place to connect with the waterway that's part of the city's heritage. It's important to note that reclaiming waterfronts is far from an American phenomenon. Cities across the globe like Madrid, Paris, Dusseldorf, and Seoul have all taken out highways located along waterways. They recognize that not so long ago, city and river were almost always intertwined. Rivers were the lifeblood of cities, which relied upon them for irrigation, hydration, sanitation, and transportation. Today, we have a greater appreciation for urban waterfronts as unique natural amenities and can see firsthand the economic, recreational, and environmental benefits that come from waterfront access. Compare the before and after images for each of these cities that you've seen today, and you'll notice a stark difference. Gray pavement becomes green space, and cars are replaced with people. Each of these cities have realized that their waterfront should be celebrated, not covered in pavement, and so they remove the roads alongside them. This should serve as a cautionary tale for the Pasig River Expressway. There's an opportunity to skip altogether the removal step entirely by not building the highway in the first place. I'll pause here, but I encourage everyone to check out our Highways to Boulevards website for additional resources and case studies. And please feel free to reach out to me via email, as I'm always happy to talk. Thank you.